not. So
You sound good. You sound good, Mick. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Minifandom. Getting two on the one night, just pumping them out. That's how much I'm into this producer race. Well, Mick reached out to me after I released the episode with Joe, and I think clearly he wants to get his story out there and needs to because, and Mick, you know, you're a friend of the show, and you've always got along great. But that was a brutal performance last week on the main show. Brutal.
I didn't know that we've always got along great, but that's good to know. I'm glad that I'm a friend of the program. And what, you're down on last week's performance, huh? Really, really down on it. What was your biggest critique?
I mean, everything that came out of your mouth was just some inane babble. You couldn't string together a coherent argument. You were trying to stir shit and were doing it very unsuccessfully. It was just annoying. I mean, you had Jeff Lowe calling you should be banned from going on the main show ever again. I mean, no one did that.
And you're saying that's a bad job of stirring shit?
Oh, absolutely. It was a
guy to call in and defend himself and yell at people. I stand by what I said, by the way. I think you do too.
We are getting some Tommy Quinlan type delusion here because, I mean, this is just extraordinary because I'll give you an example. You know, when Cullinane tries to argue with Kirk and he just throws something out there and then Kirk will push him on it and then he has nothing to back it up. That's what you were doing last Friday. You were saying stuff about the other competitors. You were trying to get under people's skins and it just wasn't working. I mean,
again,
yeah, it just was terrible.
How can you say that when I got Tommy Quinlan messaging me and he's going off the rails now? I mean, how can you say that it's not working?
But Tommy Quinlan is messaging everybody. I mean, he's gone off the rails himself. I mean, you and he are going off the rails together. But sorry,
you're welcome. By the way, people, that's all my doing.
Let me walk this back a bit. I think you're still in the race because other people are falling over, but that doesn't take away that performance last Friday. And you know, I like you. I mean, you're annoying and you've disappointed me a lot.
You don't have to. Yeah, that's fine.
No, but it's true. I'm not saying this. Like Steve, I just loathe, and listening to him today was just getting under my skin. But you know, I want you to do well, whether you get the job or not. And you were just awful. Like you were just like so bad.
So you thought the first performance was better? It couldn't get any worse.
Definitely.
Your words is what it sounds like.
Absolutely. You were too much. And what annoyed me was I thought it allowed John Rich to just sort of scoot under because he was just awful as well. I mean, he just had no idea what he was doing. And because you were so bad, it took the attention away. So,
yeah. Will you try one thing on John Rich's performance? This is where I don't know if it's intentional or not, but I feel as if some of the other contestants, if they did some of the things that he did, they would be getting killed. You know, if you played a random drop in the middle of an interview, or, you know, in the middle of a conversation, like when Jeff D. Lowe, he started playing clapping drops right in the middle of Jeff.
Of course.
You know, I feel like if I did that, I'd get killed.
Yes, and if you'd have gone on, you know, the story he said about, what was it, addiction or owing someone money or something?
20 minutes to get out. I mean, yeah, it was forever.
I mean, that was worse than anything Guy Geller ever said. But you were so bad, you distracted it, distracted from the performance. So yes,
all right.
I think.
Well, I can live with that. I mean, I can live. With, I got to be better then. I got to be better in manners' eyes. You know, that's
yes.
Got to be better.
Now, I know you wanted to come on Minifandom. Anything you want to get off your chest about the producer race? You know, you've been going at it with Tommy. What's going on?
Yeah, no, I'm glad that, first of all, thank you for doing this. No sarcasm there. This is about 12 a.m. Eastern. And I know a lot of the other contestants have been able to go on the main show or the Mike and the Minifans network. They've been doing all that stuff, doing the YouTube network. And I just really haven't had a ton of time. And the Friday nights when they do it, I'm usually working. So I thank you for doing this, first of all. And yeah, no, I've been having a lot of fun with it. A little stressful, I would say, you know, just a little stressful in the sense of like, I don't know, you might read into some of the things that you hear sometimes, you might tweet, but I think the whole thing is like, I'm just kind of embracing it. I'm trying to have fun with it. The Minifans have been great. So the entire thing is kind of taking me by not like surprise, but I am shocked a little bit. I shouldn't say I am surprised a little bit by just the amount of like the amount of people are. I mean, so many people are into
Mhm.
it. Like all over social media, it seems like Barstool's into it. It seems like, all the Minifans. So it's cool. It's fun to be a part of. That's a long answer, but it's very fun to be a part of.
Yeah, that's good. And I imagine you're not in last place anymore because, as I said, it seems like Tommy Quinlan's tripped himself up, so he's going to be out.
Yeah.
And I don't think John Rich is a realistic chance of moving. That's my gut feeling. Um, so you're right in the middle of the pack. And now,
Who's
what's
your
your
favorite
strategy?
right now? Let me ask you this. Who's your favorite?
Well, Kirk had Montante as the favorite today, followed just by Augustus. I mean, firstly, what a wild move of Augustus to reach out to Milton's.
Yeah. Another thing where I feel like if I did that, I would get murdered like instantly. Like it would be like a get the hell out of here. You're never welcome back. I would expect that, for him to just take the initiative. Again, it's good initiative to try and sell the show. I get that aspect, but you don't work for them. You simply do not work for them. And I know Bill from Milton's is the friend of the program. He knows Kirk really well. So it is a little different, but at the same time, it's still as a business that you're reaching out to on the behalf of another business that you don't even work for.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was fucking crazy. And I'm a go-getter, but my thing would be I would have put together a proposal and sent it to Kirk and Dave via email and said, here's some people I'd like to reach out to, blah, 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 blah. And then they go, no, we don't want you calling Bill.
Right.
So just wild. I mean, I think, Augustus is a little mad, a little crazy. And I think his craziness came out. Yeah. Wild stuff.
I think with him, I think Augustus, he's trying to play up his personality a little bit. I don't think he's usually the most, exciting guy. I don't think he's known for his on-air personality or anything like that, but I'll give him credit. I mean, what he did today, going to the mall and walking on his knees, that is a good bit there. And his knees were all jacked up. I mean, it looks like he's got a real injury going right now. So I'll give him credit. You got to give him a little credit there.
Yeah. Do you like Augustus?
Like as a person or as a producer?
Yeah, like just generally, like as a producer.
As a producer, I think he would do a pretty good job. Definitely technically seems to be kind of like a nerdy guy and, good with computers. I don't know if that's true, but just as the vibe he gives off. Yeah, as a person, I mean, I don't really know him that well. He was in studio the first time that I went to the KMS studio back, I don't know, 2 years ago. And we had lunch, me, him, Cullinane, Justin, Beyond Average Christian, who I know you love. And there was a couple other people there. And so I sat, yeah, it was. And I sat next to him and I could tell me and him aren't we don't have a lot in common, but he seems like a nice enough guy.
Yeah. And you think he'd do an okay job?
I think he would do a good job because I think he's committed to the show. I won't take that away from him. He's definitely seems committed to the show. That being said, I don't know how great he would be to listen to every day or every other day, whatever.
I first met Andrew Augustus. Tim and Canton picked me up and he took me to Sullivan's in Boston.
Yep.
It's like he got some lobster rolls for lunch and he said, I've got a surprise for you. And he built up this surprise and I'm thinking, what is this surprise going to be? And it was Andrew Augustus, strolled in and he was like, look, you get to meet Andrew Augustus. Not exactly the biggest surprise. So in the end, I let down.
Yeah.
What about Tommy Quinlan then? So he obviously he and Andrew were trading DMs about the commentary. I think great instincts from Augustus to get some of that sound.
Yeah, what was the big issue there? It's not like he was like spilling state secrets. It was old play-by-play that everybody had already heard or nobody actually heard, but you know what I mean? It was out there already. So what was the big deal?
I don't know.
Tommy
Quinlan's, he's
just not fit for this world. I mean, again, like we can pretend that he's a big Minifan and he listens to the show. And a lot of people gave me shit when I first kind of entered this whole world, thinking that I didn't listen to the show. It. Yeah, I do, but I definitely deserve it in some aspects. But you can't say that I don't listen to the show and I don't follow the world and I listen to the network shows. This guy is trying to play it as if he knows everything, and it comes off really, really bad, especially with someone like Kirk in front of him. It's like, oh, let's do the top 50 Minifans, and he can't even get a name out. It's like it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, and I'm not gonna. He doesn't seem like the great guy. I don't like him, just his personality. And I have heard things. I'm not just making all of this up. I have heard a lot of things about this guy. We're around the same age, and we live around the same area. And I know kids who went to school with him.
So what have you heard? Like, give us an idea.
I've just heard about his personality.
Yeah, you can't just keep saying that. You said it on the main show. You've tweeted it out. Now we're here. I mean, you can't just say,
Well,
I've
I
heard.
told
Like,
you what I heard before. I mean, I already told you. I heard that he was openly, he was open about
out and
things before
proud.
this. Yeah. And I'm not, it sounds bad because I'm not trying to critique the guy for coming out or anything like that. I'm critiquing the authenticity of the story on the podcast. And for me, if you're not going to be authentic, then you deserve to be called out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he said that he started coming out earlier this year.
You could tell
but
by his family's reaction. I mean, just listen to the way they reacted. That was not breaking news.
But you're alleging that he's been out for years.
I'm just telling you what I heard. I'm just telling you people have reached out.
I can imagine you move in the same circles as Tommy.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. Have you heard anything else? Any other rumors about Tommy floating around? Has he sent you any mean DMs?
He called me a gigantic pussy in the DMs. That was it, though. And that's when I knew right away, though. The instant he did that, I was like, oh, this guy's not fit for this world. To the fact that he would even just DM me that, like, what are we going to do with this? And then the fact that he goes and challenges me to rough and rowdy. Like, I would say he doesn't get the show. The guy doesn't get it. I mean, you know what I mean? He seems like a nice enough guy, fine, but he doesn't get the show. He doesn't get the whole world. Get him out of here. I don't know. I don't know why he's still around.
I agree. He should be eliminated from the race. Not even a nice guy. Like, I don't even think he's actually generally that nice. I think he's probably a bit of a bitch.
His producer instincts, I mean, they're not great. I mean, the topics he's brought up. I mean, everything about him, other than his wacky story about being gay in the 45 minutes that really was Kirk and Mike more than anything, and just picking away at him. Like, I don't know. I mean, what has he said that's interesting? People hate me. Fine. I'm not a fan of this guy. He would be the lowest in my producer rankings right now. Yeah,
I agree, actually. And considering how bad you were, that's saying something. Because people would people will, like, Kirk has a point. Maybe there's some people that would stop listening if you were the producer after last Friday. Like, I'm not saying it's over, but you've got to work hard now. Because you just got to find that beat that's in between Crazy Mick and in between Meek Mick that doesn't do anything. Like, you've got to find the middle ground.
Well, let me ask you this: do you know me?
Meek Mick, I like that.
You've known me now for a little while. We've done a bunch of shows together. Do you think I was acting on the show the other day? Because Justin, that's all he thought. Justin seemed to think this was all an act, and I'm like, if you really know me, this is exactly how I act.
I think that's part of your on-air personality, but there was nothing to back it up. Like, I don't think it was well thought through, which is no surprise looking at most of the work you've done. Like, I don't think you'd really, thought through these arguments. You were saying all sorts of stuff, as I said, you were doing a color name. You just throw out these statements and you'd have nothing really to back it up. So that's why it comes across as fake, whether it is or not.
I mean, I guess I don't know if you can say that I had kind of a straw argument with Tommy Quinlan and all that, but I also was kind of towing the line because I didn't want to go completely call this guy that, not gay or something like that. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to completely go with it.
You work that out before you go in. You've got to work out what you're going to say and how you're going to say
it. Okay. I'll work on it. How's that? I'll work on that.
See, you're doing Tommy now. I mean, I'm not the one that everyone else said you were bad on the show. It's not just me. I'm not Robinson Crusoe.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not really giving me an example. All you're saying is you brought things up and didn't really have anything to back up. You're not saying specific things. So I'm assuming it was with the Tommy Quinlan argument.
Yeah, that was one of the big ones. Yeah. And that was one of the big ones.
I guess that's, maybe I missed on that one.
But technically you're doing really well compared to the other candidates. And
which is surprising. I mean, these guys must really not know a lot about, because it's really not. I mean, Steve is right in this. What he says is he set it up for an orangutan back there. It is very simple. And I think Montante could do it. I think just about anybody after a couple of weeks could get it done. So,
yeah, interesting. You bring up Steve, and again, maybe there is something to you getting a bad rap, because I don't know if you noticed. Steve said that, these producers should put together some of the worst bits of the other contenders. And that is what you did, and you brought it in.
I mean, I did that, and I did a best of Dave, or worst of Dave, whatever it was. Yeah, I mean, maybe he just missed it, which is fine. But
no, Kirk should have brought it up. What I'm saying is Kirk heard it, and he didn't even say anything. He didn't know. Yeah, Mick did that.
Yeah. Which again, maybe he just forgot about it, which is probably probably what happened, or he just didn't want to give me any credit on it. Again, I do think that he has maybe not judging, or I think he has a scale for each producer. And I think that what he's willing to say to them is different. Than, like what I think I shouldn't say this because I don't know this for a fact, but I think that he would be like more willing to go completely crazy on someone like me or Montante than John Rich. I don't know if you feel that way,
Yes.
but I just based off the way he's talked to us.
I mean, John Rich, I'm telling you, he got off so easy. I mean, if I'd have turned up and done some of that stuff, if anyone else had turned up with the stories, with the drops, with the things to talk about, I mean, just ridiculously bad. So you're right.
Yeah. And I'm not even critiquing his lack of knowledge for KMS because not everybody's going to know the show right away. And he's been open about that. He's not trying to be something he's not. I'm more just I guess the laid back personality is kind of surprising me that Kirk is, I guess, into that. It seems like he almost seems lackluster back there is the vibe I got. He was kind of just like, yeah, you know, happy go lucky, happy to be there.
Yeah. Dumb Midwestern guy.
I mean, you said that. I didn't.
Okay, so actually you haven't been, we'll get back to the producer race in a minute, but you haven't been on since I called your girlfriend fat.
Yeah, that was, I knew we were going to get to this. And you know, what's even better is a lot of people were asking me, were you mad that Menners put out the episode? Remember that you got access to the YouTube network and you saw the draft. And a lot of people asked me, like, and he even tweeted, they're like, that is a terrible thing to do. You know, they were killing you. A lot of very few times I get support in the Minifan world. That was one of them. They were like, oh, you shouldn't have put that out there. I disagree completely. I know you. I knew exactly the minute that you got the login to that episode was going to be up there. It didn't surprise me. There's nothing about. I wasn't very mad. I was just like, whatever. I mean, that's Menners. That's Menners being Menners.
But because I caught it when it was first put up and didn't ever get to listen to the whole thing or react to it. But then when I was in the back, it looked like it was just pulled down because of some copyright issue. That's why I thought it was taken down. So I just took the music off at the front, which was actually some of the crap.
And that's why
and then put it back up.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not like you took it down because you wanted it hidden.
No, and not at all. The only reason
it was not doing anything.
No, but I think a lot of people saw it as I hadn't been around for a little while. And then you take old audio and you post it when it's like, you know, it wasn't me post. I think that's why people had a hard time with it or thought that you were just trying to make a dig. But again, I could have been the most vulnerable moment ever. And I expect you to post that audio. I would never expect anything less. I know how it works.
It was great. But yeah, I think, what were you saying about Montante on the main show? You and he are going to be producing together this week.
It's going to be interesting. That is going to be very interesting. I definitely think I have an edge on him technically, which means he better be nice to me because I could sabotage him quickly. I could sabotage him very quickly when it comes to technically. But that being said, I've never met Montante in person, so I'm actually kind of excited to meet him. I know he doesn't like me. I'm not particularly a big fan of his. So I don't know what the vibe's going to be like or the atmosphere behind the glass is going to be like. I don't know if Dave's going to be in there with us and it's going to be the three of us. I have no idea what to expect. I'm just more interested in how is Montante going to act towards me and how is that whole thing going to go?
Yeah, the prime move is you taking a cake on Friday from your girlfriend.
Okay. And again, the cake bit. All right. We'll go with it. That's fine. How do you think Montante is going to react back there?
I think it's going to be a very strange dynamic because Montante wants to prove himself as a technical whiz behind there. And I certainly don't want you sitting in the third chair for everybody's sake, just for your own sake, because, you know, that's certainly not your spot. You know, like if I was producer, I'd have a sound engineer in there pushing buttons and I'd be sitting with Kirk running the show from next to him. But you need to be in there and saying very little. Like, we don't want Mick where you don't say anything, but we just want you being like level. But I think Montante will do well, but I just think it's a very weird dynamic to have two people at once. Like, I'd rather just go, Montante, you do the whole show, and Cullinane just sits around, and if something happens, he jumps in, and then you have another show. Rather, because I think mixing shows is bad. Like, I think it was bad for Joe today, and I just don't think it's a good way of really assessing someone.
Yeah, I mean, well, nothing was going to save Joe today. Let's be fair there. He was That kid. That was something. That was something right there. When I heard him say smoking crack and 100, like I stopped. I hit the brakes. I was like, what the hell did he just say? That's one of those moments where it's like, I question if he's ever listened to the show. Another guy, like I question if he has actually listened to the show.
No, I think he is, because he's been on Minifandom, and I just don't think he's as crazy as some other Minifans.
Just zoned out. Then that's all it was.
Yeah, I think so. Well, he was on before, and he was saying that he just was very self-conscious about his performance, and I can see that happening. And the other guys were around. So I think it's a bit of unfair for you and Montante to be in there together. But I think you're still in the race. Do you still give yourself a chance at getting the job?
Yes, just because I'm getting asked to come back. And that does not, to me, think that I could just be being used for content or anything. You know what I mean? I'm sure this whole thing.
Certainly not.
Yeah, right. Of course. Like, not everybody's going to get a job. So, of course, a lot of people are going to be left just sitting here being like, what was that for? But at the end of the day, I don't think I would be getting asked back unless I thought that I could be, potentially used. I don't know if it's going to be right now or maybe in the future or anything like that. But I guess that was kind of my biggest concern going into the first, the first tryout, I guess, was how do I show that I can do this job and also be interesting on the air? And that was, I guess, the biggest challenge, where I was like, I don't want to be too much. And that was a day where I think I had to pick and choose a little bit, because Dave had just basically been let go. It was the first show after that. Andy Mayo was in, who's always going to talk. Yeah. And Blind Mike was there, who's a prominent voice in the show. So it was a lot of like those guys asking Dave questions and me kind of grabbing the mic, and it was a tough spot. I thought that was, and I didn't have there wasn't two mics back there at the time, so I don't know. That first performance, I was more down on myself, that one, and the second one, if people didn't like it, that's fine, but I at least felt that I don't know. I let the things go off my chest that I actually had a problem with. Like I don't really like Tommy Quinlan. I didn't like the fact that Kirk had said that I had these mental breakdowns and this, that, and the other one. It's like, well, where's that coming from? Again, another thing where I think,
well, you do go off a bit and run away, and you stop doing your show, get upset, scream and whine and stuff.
Okay, but that's different than having like a full on breakdown and being like, hey, I can't handle this. That's just also being like,
it seems like you can't handle it.
How so?
Well, with the behavior, when the podcast goes away from.
Am I messaging people like threatening them, like Tommy Quinlan?
No, you can't compare yourself to Tommy Quinlan the whole time, because that's bad for you. Because he's behind you in the race.
Yeah, but okay, then just tell me how.
You wouldn't want him behind you. Anyway, go on.
There it is. But just tell me how in the last 2 years since we've known each other, other than the actual break that I said, hey, I'm getting offline for a bit. Other than that one time where I openly said, hey, I just kind of stepping away for a little while, not because of one thing someone said, not because I'm getting bullied, just because I'm getting a little sick of it. I just need a little time away. Other than that, like, what are these like breakdown? I don't.
You go on all these rants about me and Montante, and you screaming, and it just comes across as a bit mad.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess I got to do some self-reflecting there.
I think you do. Because I thought, yeah. No, you were going to say. I said, you go.
Yeah, sorry. No, I just think chemistry? That. Yeah, that was great. I think a lot of people hear me and they think it's an act, because I'm not always like that. But I also think like I'm not. That doesn't mean it's an act. That's just also because I'm not going to always just openly bitch all of the time. Like I thought that was a spot where Kirk clearly wasn't really in, he was kind of shitting on me right away. So I was like, all right, we'll just try to stir something up here.
Yeah.
Rather than just sit there like a lot of people and just take it and just say, okay, yes, sir, and shake your head and be like, ha. Yeah. Like, all right, let's try to make for some sort of entertaining banter. I know I'm never going to win a conversation or an argument with him. I'm very much aware of that. And the fact that this is what irritated me maybe the most so far is I heard Blind Mike say I think one of his biggest critiques of me was he thinks that Kirk sees a young me. I think Kirk sees a young me in him, which is fucking insane. I don't know where people think that. Like, I've never once ever tried to compare myself to Kirk ever. It's more the other thing. People say I'm trying to like emulate him or copy him, which fine, sure, you can say that, but like, Mike said that with a serious. I don't know if he was serious or it was tongue in cheek. I couldn't really tell. I wasn't watching the YouTube at the time. I was listening. So I don't know if he had a smile on his face, but if he believes that, he couldn't be more wrong. He just couldn't be more wrong.
You know that Kirk hates you or doesn't like
Yes.
you.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Of course. Absolutely. I mean, he makes that very well known. Which time do you need to know? He called my mom a cunt. He's told me I'm a twat face. I mean, what do we need? What are we talking about here?
Yeah. I know. I've noticed you've been tweeting out clips from the show after Steve suggested someone do that.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider making them into like reel formats and giving them to KMS to put on their Instagram?
Absolutely. And I think if I had access to the actual video at the time, like I was taking it and taking from the YouTube and screen recording, it's not the best way to do it.
Yep.
So if I had access to the actual video, yeah, I would do it in a different way. I would make different reels. I would make one for TikTok. You could make one for Instagram. You could do long form for more Twitter. I know Andy Mayo tweeted out that Kirk's not a big guy on like the cuts and this, that, and the other. I do think those cuts help like kind of tell a story at times, and that's I think the job of like an editor or a producer is take the 7-minute clip of the rant and turn it into 90 seconds and tell the story of what was actually told in those 7 minutes. And you can't do that without cutting it up. So I don't know. I think there's I think they've been lacking on that, obviously, with the Instagram. Dave kind of dropped the ball on that one. So I think the more KMS content out there, the better, and the more clips, I would be happy to do those clips for them.
Okay, good. Well, you're still in the race, Mick. I mean, that's a good thing. Last week I thought you were out. I thought no one would ever let you back in the studio again, but they're giving you another shot.
Can you rank the candidates?
Well,
and not as a personal favorite, who you think?
No. I sort of agree with the main rankings. I still have Augustus ahead of Montante, just because Andrew doesn't have to move. So I think that like it's guaranteed. If he got the job, he'd just start. Like if Kirk said to him, actually, Cullinan's taking the severance package. I need you to start next week. Augustus could do that, and you could do that. Whereas Montante and John Rich probably couldn't, because they say, look, it's going to take me a couple of weeks to move at least.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe Montante would go and stay with me more, and Alex would pack up. I don't know. But so give Andrew first, Augustus second. Wow. It's too early to assess Josh.
But you said Andrew first, Augustus second.
Sorry, Montante second.
Gotcha.
No, thanks for clearing that up. Montante second. Probably have you third at the moment.
Wow.
Then I'd have John Rich fourth, Tommy Quinlan fifth. And Josh from today, I just thought there was nothing there. I just thought there was literally nothing there. But maybe if he went in again, he could do a better job. I also think Joe, who came on in a fandom early, should get another shot. I just don't like this split producer thing, because the
you
thing
think the guy
is,
who got kicked off the show should get another shot today?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, because I think if he'd had to stay there and then to just beat the shit out of him for the rest of the show, that would have been funny, and it would have been funny to see how he reacted. Maybe it's a great show because they're just making fun of him not listening the whole time. I just think everyone deserves a full show at it.
But do you think he was actually auditioning for the job? Like, do you think he went in that day and thought that if he gave a good performance, he'd be in the running?
I mean, if you're third, anyone's a chance.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's. I'm not saying he's not.
You're talking about Augustus, a stroke victim, Montante, who is admittedly retarded, and bug-eyed Mick. I mean, anyone's a shot.
You heard the way Kirk and Steve kind of reacted when he was like, and Joe's a candidate too. He said that little like line on the show. He was like, "Oh, and I'm also in the running," and they were like, "No chance." Like, no, you know what this is, man. And I don't know if they were just fucking with him, but like I think maybe in his head he went in there that day and was like, "All right, let me give a good performance to get in this race." And you're just asleep at the wheel. What are we doing?
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna give him a free pass on that, but I just think kicking people out after 50 minutes, you're never going to find out how good someone can be.
Yeah, he wasn't listening to the show, man. I mean, you can't
say just for a couple of minutes. I mean, if I was producing in there, maybe I'd be going off looking for a clip or something that I wanted to, they were talking, you can miss a couple of minutes, it's not impossible.
And I think if he said, "Oh, sorry, Kirk, I was trying to pull up some sound here. What were you talking about?" That would have been an acceptable, maybe not acceptable, but that would have been an answer he could live with.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to go.
I mean, I don't know what's going on in his head, but like, I mean, who knows what he was thinking about at the time?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was nervous, very nervous.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, I got very nervous in there the first time I've been in there, and when I sat down the other day and when they started the show, and they said, why you laid back, like I actually felt more comfortable, and I wasn't playing it up. I just felt a little more comfortable. I don't know. It was like the third time getting in there, and it could have been a disaster that day, but I don't know. I thought it was a good time. I thought it was a pretty good show. Good. You clearly hated it, but
yeah, I didn't like it. I mean, I listened to. I mean, I did like. I mean, it was good making fun of you. And Jeff Lowe completely destroyed you. So I mean, the thing is, it was just way too much as well. Like the energy, it was just way too much. And I'm someone that likes to be a lot, but I'm just giving you advice that you can never be like that again, ever, if you want to get that job.
Okay. Well, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Have you watched it back?
I listened to it back. I didn't watch it. I listened to it back.
And you didn't go. I mean, I wish I could give you more concrete examples of where you just said stupid shit, but
no, you just throwing stuff at the wall.
We did this at like 10 minutes notice, so I didn't go back and get quotes ready to throw them at you.
I think with Jeff D. Lowe, just the thing is Jeff D. Lowe, like I think that was a great example where it's like you can sit there and just take it a little bit, or you can, I remember, I think I called him Disney Jeff, and I said Kirk had to hold your hand at dinner. Like, I don't think everybody's going to say that to Jeff D. Lowe. And I'm not trying to say that I'm some, savage or anything like that. But I thought there was a pretty good spot. I listened to that back and I was like, that was pretty good, entertaining. Even try to take the bias out of it. I thought that was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, you got some personality. It was just completely misdirected, I think. And look, no one's saying you have to be the third chair. You'd be in the producer's box doing your job, saying a little bit.
And that's something that I brought up, and when I said that, I was like, oh, I'd hire interns, and they laughed at that, and they're like, who's going to listen to you? Like that is, I guess, a frustration of mine. Yeah, and that's a frustration of mine where it's like, I think I'm not a full blown complete moron. I'm a moron. Yeah. I'm a moron. I'm an idiot for sure, but I'm not like stupid. Like that's where it's like I'm not a stupid person.
Okay, well, so why don't you write out a plan? If I was Kirk, I would say, okay, write out a plan. How are you going to hire the interns? What briefs are you going to give them? How are you going to manage them? I want 2 pages on your strategy around that. Write it down, send it to me, and then we'll go through it on Friday's show.
Yeah, we could do that. How about I do that? How about I'll bring in my pitch. I'll have a little presentation. I think that's a good idea, Manners. I'm glad you said that. I'll have a little presentation for why I think I should be taken a little more serious in that aspect, because I think that is my biggest. I know. I think you have said, or I don't know who. So someone said the other day, you can improve on air. That's easy, but can you improve like the professional aspect and the behind the scenes aspect? I think that's where. I think that I'm being looked at in a sense like, oh, that's a liability for me. Where I think that's gonna be a strength. Like I think if I have to be the annoying guy calling someone 4 times a day, like I think you would know this. I'm very good at that. I can be a pain in the ass very, very easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know what goes into production, and from what I saw with Beyond Average podcast, you were able to make that sound and look good with minimal tech. So you clearly are skilled producer technically. I would maybe take in some things to stir conversation on Friday, maybe some clips from the network or other stuff. But I mean, you've got a chance. You've got a chance now. So,
are you saying that because I'm on the show with you, or do you actually think that? You tweeted very differently. I mean, if
today's show was a big difference because Kirk, I think, even had you at 3rd place today. So
he changes it every day. I mean, he literally changes it every day.
Change every day. I think Augustus is quite a bit ahead of you at the moment. I think Montante is not that far ahead of you. But yeah, you've got some ground to make up on Friday. Like I think Kirk would be like, this guy just could annoy the shit out of me too much.
That's fair. And I think the 2 people that you have said are the biggest competition, I would say. And not because they are, they know the show well or anything. I think knowing, and I said this the other day on the show, like the Kirk Minahan intangibles, like some of the questions Tommy Quinlan was asking, where he was like, would it be okay to post this type of thing where it's like, if you kind of know his vibe and the things that he says and what he cares. Like, I feel like you wouldn't even need to really ask those type of things unless it's very serious, unless it's something that, of course you can ask on, a legal question or something like whatever like that. But I'm saying just a general Twitter post. Like, I feel like Kirk wants his producers to know what he would want rather than be like, hey, is this okay every single time?
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? I feel like people like Montante and Augustus know him better than people like Tommy and John, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yes, definitely. I see the clips you've made; they're pretty good. Well, look, I think you got half a chance, so good luck with it.
All right. Thanks for doing this too. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck with it. I would say keep doing the clips. Send as much. I mean, people think you're a quitter, so you got to try and show you the opposite of that. To stick at it.
Do you take anything to what Mike said, where he was like, I think being the producer of the Kirk Minahan show is different than having a little side project that you gave up on? Like, do people think that like I would have the job for 2 months and be like, I'm just going to stop doing it? I would never.
Oh, no. I don't think that, but I think like you've got to show initiative now.
Yeah, that's fair.
That you got to show initiative.
All right,
well, Mick. Well, good luck on Friday. Give Montante a big hug. Like, I don't know, take your face mask or something, because if it's a sweaty, hot day in there, then Montante's hairy and all the booze from the night before will be
the pores. Yeah, I know how it's going to be.
I mean, I guess. Do you think it's? I'm curious. I've asked this to a few people. Like, it was weird on Monday night when the show was going on with Tommy Quinlan. Montante was watching the college football instead. And I thought that was a bit strange. I mean, if you really wanted the job, I thought you'd be locked in.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I think, I mean, he's a degenerate gambler, so we can't look past that. He has a problem. He is open about that too. So, I mean, we are kind of picking on an addict. But that being said, I do agree. I was at work and I was running to my car every chance I got, throwing on that YouTube feed. And I actually caught Tommy live kind of yelling at me and calling me Mikey, which again, that was not news to anybody. My real name's Michael. I don't know who doesn't know that, who's ever listened to Beyond Average. Nobody has, but whatever. That's not news. And I think he was trying to like throw a dig at me. But my point being is I was at work that night and every other night during the Mike and the Minifans and all of that. And I would try to pull up the feed and just try to get a couple minutes here and there.
Oh, yes, I know. I know, yeah, okay, good. I'm glad you agree. I know there was one thing you did. You said, "Oh, Mena's said something about my girlfriend," and then
you did,
and then you go, "Oh yeah, but they said they were joking or something." And Kirk's like, "Okay, well, that was something like that."
Kirk said, "Do you think they were joking?" And I said, "No." And then I said, "Well, I don't think that they meant it." Or something along the lines of that, but I also think that you knew what you were doing, and I think that. But
I literally said it on the podcast after I said it. Like a minute later, I said, "Of course, I'm joking. I just doing that to upset Mick."
Of course, and it worked. Yeah, it worked. It worked.
All right. Well, look, go and have a slice of cake and a glass of milk, and tuck yourself into bed, and think about Tommy Quinlan and his 8.5-inch rod ramming you, because I think that's how this is going to end up. And we'll catch up soon.
All right, buddy. Take care.